Good evening. So I'm sitting here in the Dublin Buddha Centre in the large shrine room, and I'm imagining you all around me. What I'm going to do this evening is, first of all, I'm going to talk about the Dharma for a short while. Then I'm going to introduce some of the online events that we're going to be doing at the Dublin Buddha Centre in the coming weeks. And then we'll have a short break. And if you want to, you can join me in a special metta bhavana that we're going to be doing for this particular point in time. We'll have a short threefold puja, and then we'll conclude. So before I talk about the Dharma, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the Buddha. So at this time, we are confronted with some of the more difficult aspects of human life. There is uncertainty in many areas. There's illness and there's death. There's also aloneness. And when we experience these things, deeper fears arise. And it's important that we remember that the Buddha faced these fears squarely and overcame them. So on that night, in the full moon in May, he sat beneath the Bodhi tree and he conquered Mara. So Mara represents the forces of doubt, the forces of selfishness, confusion, and fear. So the Buddha is a conqueror. The Buddha was also referred to as being like an elephant or a bull or a great serpent. So he's very much associated with strength and with fearlessness. And because we have encountered his teaching, because we have encountered the Sangha that he founded, because we've read and heard stories about his life, we have actually encountered him. So we each individually have a personal connection with someone who is not afraid, who would witness events such as the ones that we're witnessing, unfolding with unshakable wisdom, with profound compassion, a deep solidarity of life with life, and unimpeded creative responsiveness. So we can remember the Buddha at this time. We can recall to mind stories of his life. We can read Buddhist texts where the events of his life, his teachings, and his actions are recounted. We might have particular Buddhist mantras that remind us, that connect us with the Buddha's qualities. And we might be a devotional person. We can connect with the Buddha through devotional practice. But above all, what we need to remember is the Buddha was and is made of the same stuff that we are made from. What the Buddha attained, we too can attain. The Buddha was born as we are born. And because it was possible for him, it is possible for us. So we can derive tremendous confidence from simply bringing the Buddha to mind in whatever way. And that'll help us meet whatever challenges are ahead with greater confidence, courage, and perspective. Closer to home, we can remember people that we ourselves know, maybe people that we've met personally, people that we've read about. And there's so many acts of kindness, of generosity and courage that are going on around us right now that we can take a lot of inspiration and confidence from. One of the words that I've heard a lot over the last few days, and one of the words that I've said myself a number of times, is the word unprecedented. And in a way, all situations are unprecedented, in as much as the conditions for one situation to arise are unrepeatable. However, usually there's a pattern that we can recognize and that we can follow. But dealing with an event like this, it's difficult to find those kinds of patterns. So that can cause doubt, it can cause uncertainty about how to act. So at this time, rather than thinking and acting from what we don't know, we can think and act from what we do know. And one of the things that we do know, at least to some extent, are the teachings of the Buddha. So the Buddha's teaching consists of principles that we can apply to the different circumstances of life as they arise. And what we're going to need to do in the days and weeks that come is to find new ways of practicing those teachings, new ways of applying them in our lives. So I wanted to talk most fundamentally about 5 principles, about the 5 precepts or the 5 training principles. So those 5 principles are, first of all, the principle of love, the principle of generosity, the principle of stillness, simplicity, and contentment, the principle of truthfulness, and the principle of mindfulness. So I'll say a few words about each. And I'm very much aware that these are some first thoughts. I've never been in a pandemic before, so these are just first thoughts on the way to finding a response to the situation that we find ourselves in individually and collectively. So the first precept is the principle of love and kindness. It's the principle of fellow feeling. It's the principle of empathy. It's the principle of metta. So one of the things that the pandemic reminds us of so forcibly is how interwoven our lives are. What I do has a powerful effect on others, for good or for ill. And it reminds us of the weight of responsibility that we have to care for each other. So this, of course, is there all the time, this interwovenness, this interconnection. But that insight comes with particular force at the moment. We can really imagine ourselves into the lives of others. And one of the things we can do, which is very simple, is just to be friendly. Obviously, we need to keep the appropriate social distancing. We need to be sensible, but we don't need to be fearful of each other. We can be friendly. The second principle, the second precept, is the precept on generosity. So one of our teacher's teachers was a man called Dada Rinpoche. And one of the things that he taught was that if you're not sure what to do something for others. So at this time, we might find ourselves with quite a bit of time on our hands, and we might think, well, if I've got some time on my hands and I'm not sure what to do with myself, maybe I can do something for others. One Sangha member I've heard of was knocking into people in their street and asking if they needed any shopping done for them, particularly older people. Again, we need to be sensible about how we do that, so we keep the appropriate social distancing. But one thing we can do, and this is the particular point I wanted to make in relation to generosity, which is such a big area, is simply keeping in touch with people, contacting people that you know and just checking up on how they're getting on. Particularly, you might like to contact people who you don't know, or that you only know a little bit, and just ask them how they're getting on. The third precept is the precept on contentment. So one of the things I think we need to do is we need to look for positive outlets for relaxation, for recreation. So those of us who are able-bodied, we can still go out walking, and let's make as much use of that while we can in case we're not able to do that anymore. And also just remembering that there's only so much information that we can usefully take in. So it's very easy, and I've done this myself, to become almost compulsive about getting more information about what's going on around the world. So one of the things we need to do is just be careful about how much input we're taking into our mind, and recognizing when we've had enough and we're well informed enough and we just need to do something else. The fourth precept is about truthfulness. So this is the precept particularly to do with speech. So one of the things that we can do is just notice the effect that our speech is having on other people. The people around us, maybe people we're talking to on the phone, and that includes texting. People at this time can be particularly sensitive. So yeah, so we need to be aware of the effect of our speech on other people, and just checking on the accuracy of what we're passing on. The fifth precept is the precept on mindfulness. So this is a very simple thing, but we can just remember to keep in touch with the sensations of our body, particularly in times of acute stress. There's one thing we can always do is just come back to our body and what's going on in our body by way of feeling. And watch your mind. Notice what's happening to your mind. And particularly one thing I wanted to point out is the importance of forgiveness, both for others, but also for oneself. So the strong impression I get at the moment is that most of us are improvising. People are doing their best in the circumstances because no one's been in this situation in living memory before. So one thing particularly to watch out for is indignation. It's very easy to get into indignation about things you think shouldn't be happening. But it's worth remembering just to give people the benefit of the doubt and to remember that people mostly are doing their best. So that's just a few words about the 5 precepts. There's a myriad other ways in which they can be practiced. I also wanted to just point out, and again, this is a very obvious thing, but just the importance of meditation. So many of us will have learned to meditate. If you haven't learned to meditate and you'd like to, I'll say a little bit more about how you might go about doing that in a moment. So remember to meditate. So when we meditate, we infuse our whole being, body, speech, and mind with these qualities of love, of generosity, of contentment, of mindfulness, and of truthfulness. Truthfulness here in the sense of an honest self-appraisal of what's going on in our mind. So remember to meditate. That will really make a big difference in terms of our whole perspective and clarity and well-being. And remember impermanence. Remember that all things change. Who of us could have imagined that we would have been here a week ago? So this won't go on forever, and we are equal to the challenge. It's amazing how resilient human beings are. So yeah, we can meditate, we can remember impermanence, we can take that kind of perspective on the events that are unfolding. And really importantly, we can stay in touch with our friends, stay in touch with other members of the Sangha, and we can bear witness to each other's lives. We can support each other, and we can individually and collectively explore how to put the Dharma into practice in these times. So I've mentioned a few ideas, but there's by no means exhaustive. So we can talk to our friends and talk about the challenges that are arising and the way in which we can put the Dharma into practice in those conditions. So this, of course, is the Sangha drill. So I've talked about the Buddha, I've talked about the Dharma, and finally, I need to talk about the Sangha. So the DBC, the Dublin Buddha Centre, basically is here to provide ways of people connecting and having those kinds of conversations, coming together to practice meditation and devotional ritual, to study and so on. And we're not able to do that in the normal way that we do that. So what we're trying to do is to replicate the kinds of things that we usually do at our Buddha Centre online. So we're going to be doing this on various online platforms, mainly on YouTube, like this one, and also on Zoom. We might use other platforms as well. And we can do a lot, and we want to do a lot. And we're still working out how we can do this. So do please bear with us as we explore these different platforms and technologies. All of the information about our events you'll find on dublinbuddhacenter.org/online. Or if you go into our homepage, you can click through to those events from there. And with our events, outline in particular some of these events. So first of all, Monday to Friday, we're going to be having meditation, which you can join online. So there's morning meditation from 7:30 to 8:25, and meditation at lunchtime from 1:15 to 1:45. And each day we're going to have a thought for the day by an order member. So that would be a short YouTube video that you can watch with just a thought from an order member about something that we can bear in mind to help us during the course of our day. Each Tuesday night, we're going to be having meditation and puja. So puja is a Buddhist devotional ritual. Wednesday night, there'll be meditation instruction and Dharma discussion, so that's open to all. And on the weekends, we're going to explore some different events. So we might have seminars on Buddhist texts with discussion. It's possible to do discussion online. We'll have Dharma talks. We might have day retreats. We've got lots of other ideas about things that we'd like to do. This weekend, so on Saturday, we're going to have at 11 a.m. a talk by Vajrashura, an introductory talk about the Dharma called The Essence of Buddhism. And then on Sunday, Pavara is going to lead a puja, again at 11 a.m. One of the things we're very keen to do is to provide opportunities for people to learn who are new to the Dharma and new to meditation and new to Buddhist practice. So we're going to be developing some new online meditation and Dharma courses. We'll also be looking at developing a range of yoga courses so people can practice yoga at home. So that's just a few ideas, a few things we're going to start with in terms of this new online Buddhist centre that we're developing. But there will be more, so do please keep tuning in, particularly to the website on dublinbuddhistcentre.org/online. And you can also sign up to our mailing list so we can send you updates about the things that are happening as and when we know what they are. So I'm almost coming to the end of my talk, but I just wanted to make a few more points. In particular, I wanted to talk about Dharma. So Dharma is the Buddhist word for generosity. And at this time, we're aware that people are really going to be put in a difficult position financially. We ourselves are cutting our costs as much as we can so we can get the place up and running again in the normal way when this passes. So because people are struggling and because we ourselves are struggling, what we want to do is just offer all of our events on a donation basis. So we want as many people as possible to be able to participate. If you're able to give us a donation, that would be wonderful, but we're not expecting that. So finally, I just wanted to say that we have what we need to respond to the situation. We just need to put it into practice. We can remember the Buddha. We can remember to practice the 5 precepts. In particular, I'd really like to highlight the value and importance of the second precept, the precept on generosity. We can remember to meditate. We can remember impermanence and trying to take that perspective on the events that unfold during the course of our days and our weeks. And we can stay in contact with our friends and with the wider community. And we can do all of that, not just for our own sake, but for the benefit of everyone. Thank you. So what we're going to do now is just have a 5-minute break. So it's 7:51. So at 7:56, I'm going to start a metta bhavana. And I'll explain what we're going to do when we get there. So it's just a break for 5 minutes if you need to go and do something. And then we'll start. We'll have, first of all, the refuges and precepts, a metta bhavana, development of loving kindness meditation, and then a very short puja to conclude. So back at 7:56. So if you've just joined us, we're going to be having a meditation in about 3 minutes at 7:56. So we're just having a short pause. So what I'd like to invite you to do is, just before we start the refuges and precepts and then the metta bhavana, just to remember the three jewels, what that means in your own life, your sense of the Buddha, a sense, if you like, of the possibility of awakening and the strength of that attainment, to think of the Dharma, the Buddha's teachings that you yourself have found a benefit, and also to think of the Sangha, so people that you're in personal connection with, as well as people down through the ages that you might find inspiring. So we'll just have a moment to think of the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And you might like to actually imagine that even the Buddha is physically present with you, that your friends and the Sangha are around you. So we'll just sit thinking about that, reflecting on that for a short period, and then we'll do the refuges and precepts, which is actually us committing ourselves to keeping on coming back to the three jewels and to practicing the 5 precepts in particular. So refuges and precepts, which we'll do in call and response. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata Veramani Sikapadam Samadhyami Adinadana Veramani Sikapadang samadhyami kamesu michachara Veramani Sikapadang Samadhyami Musavada Veramani Sikapadang Samadhyami Suramiraya Majja Pamadatana Veramani Sikapadang Samadhyami Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu. With deeds of love and kindness, I purify my body. With open-handed generosity, I purify my body. With stillness, simplicity, and contentment, I purify my body. With truthful communication, I purify my speech. With mindfulness clear and radiant, I purify my mind. So now we'll enter into a period of metta bhavana. And again, we might like to start by just remembering a connection with those friends of ours, people we know in the Buddhist community and beyond. So having a sense of being connected to the web of human life and life beyond, all living beings. So while we might be on our own, or with one or two or three or more people at home, we're all connected in myriad ways. And really coming from the area around the heart and just feeling our way into that part of our body, into our emotional core, our center. Sense of care, of sensitivity, of love for ourselves. Metta bhavana, firstly, metta for oneself. And now developing metta, loving kindness, well-wishing towards a friend. And then metta for a neutral person. Metta for someone that you find difficult. And now in the fifth stage, including yourself, your friend, the neutral person, and the difficult person in your metta equally, and then including all living beings everywhere. You might like to think of people particularly affected by coronavirus here and in other parts of the world. And now we'll do a threefold puja. This, of course, is dedicated to the three jewels, directed towards the three jewels. And then we'll finish off. I'll do the blessings. So if you want to, you can repeat these words after me. The threefold puja. Opening reverence. We reverence the Buddha, the perfectly enlightened one, the shower of the way. We reverence the Dharma, the teaching of the Buddha, which leads from darkness to light. We reverence the Sangha, the fellowship of the Buddha's disciples that inspires and guides. Reverence to the three jewels. We reverence the Buddha and aspire to follow him. The Buddha was born as we are born. What the Buddha overcame, we too can overcome. What the Buddha attained, we too can attain. We reverence the Dharma and aspire to follow it with body, speech, and mind until the end. The truth in all its aspects, the path in all its stages, we aspire to study, practice, realize. We reverence the Sangha and aspire to follow it. The fellowship of those who tread the way. As one by one, we make our own commitment. An ever-widening circle. The Sangha grows. Offerings to the Buddha. Reverencing the Buddha, we offer flowers. Flowers that today are fresh and sweetly blooming. Flowers that tomorrow are faded and fallen. Our bodies too, like flowers, will pass away. Reverencing the Buddha, we offer candles to him who is the light. We offer light. From his greater lamp, a lesser lamp. We light within us the lamp of Bodhi, shining within our hearts. Reverencing the Buddha, we offer incense. Incense whose fragrance pervades the air. The fragrance of the perfect life, sweeter than incense, spreads in all directions throughout the world. And then finally, I'm going to recite the blessings. And this goes out with heartfelt best wishes and love and metta to everybody who's listening and everybody out there. Bhavatu Sabha Mangalang Rakantu Sabha Devata Sabha Bunanu Bhavena Sadasati Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sabha Mangalang Rakantu Sabha Devata Sabha Dhammanu Bhavena Sadasati Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sabha Mangalang Rakantu Sabha Devata Sabha Sanganu Bhavena Sadasati Bhavantu Te. May all blessings be yours. May all gods protect you. By the power of all the Buddhas, may all happiness be yours. May all blessings be yours. May all gods protect you. By the power of all dharmas, may all happiness be yours. May all blessings be yours. May all gods protect you. By the power of all the Sangha, may all happiness be yours.